Welcome to this next video on the assembly of my Lotus Elan. Finally got to the point where I can put the doors on, so this video will concentrate on the doors and various components that go with the doors.
These are parts of the door. These hold channels that the side window runs up and down in. So this is the rear one. They're new. I had the old ones left, very rotten, and I measured them up and made these. I reused this little bracket which has been spot welded on. It's going to have a channel that rivets into it, so this is the channel that the window runs in. It's like a brush inside. It's readily available, it's metal inside there. So I've drilled the back of it and I've got a little slot in it. So I've drilled some holes. The holes line up with holes in the back of there. Hopefully you can see them. And a slot as well. So that's going to rivet inside there. And the rivets at the bottom must have a very flat head so they don't catch the glass as it moves up and down. This is a little catch which stops the window sliding down or being pushed down when it's in the locked position, and then the unlocked position it allows the window to slide down. And that pivots on this. So it goes through that slot, and that is the original rivet pivot thing, which I'll obviously have to replace. So that pivots in there. This is some sort of stop at this end. And at the other end, and then this peculiar shape here, what that's about is, where have I put it? There's a little spring, piece of spring, so it's a flat sheet, just folded into this shape. I've remade this in spring steel, just heat treated it, so I think I've made a spring. It's all rather good. So that's now springy. And that feeds through that slot. Too many reflections. It feeds through that slot and rivets underneath the. So it gets trapped and riveted in place underneath the channel that the window runs up and down in. And when that's held in place, I'll try and demonstrate. It's going to act as a detent for the movement of this lock. So it will hold it in the locked position where the window can't be moved down, and hold it in the open position. Okay. There is a nut sort of riveted in, riv nut maybe. It's got a screw thread inside it, and this is the original one. Not sure whether that's the correct depth, but that screws inside there, and that's going to stick out, and that's the bit you're going to operate it with from inside the door. So we'll see that when the door's assembled. The other channel, the other end side, the front edge of the window again, it's sheet metal. I've made these in mild steel and had them chrome plated, and I'm sure many people would say I was stupid and that I should have made them in stainless steel. I know you can polish stainless, but I do believe that chrome is somehow shinier. Anyway, that's what I did. I'll show this later. It's going to get a brass channel riveted to it. These are the little springs for the door window latch mechanism. I'm just going to heat treat them, so I've made them out of this spring steel which has been annealed. So I've set them up so I can pick them up and drop them into some water to quench them. So I'm going to heat them to 820 and then quench, and then I'm going to temper them at about 550, maybe 600. So let's get them in the furnace. I'll set the furnace to 820. I've got it set up on this software. So there we go, it started to heat. Heater light's coming on. And we should see it on this graph. So we've been at 820 for a while now, so I'm going to get them out and quench them. So hopefully they didn't cool too much before I quenched them. Well, they certainly feel springy anyway. So we need to now temper them. So it's been at the annealing temperature for a while now. So I think that will be plenty. They're only tiny, so I think it will switch furnace off. So that's it. I'm going to leave them to cool in air. It is the front of these pair for the door that the window's going to run up and down in. Again, I've put little holes in, just pilot holes at the moment, where the original had holes. And this rivets to this window channel, this brass chrome section. Go to this end, you can see it's brass. So you can see the section, but hopefully you can see the idea. So that has a piece of rubber with sort of brush inside it that the window runs up and down in this channel. And on the other side, it's a small sort of channel, there's a piece of rubber that slides inside there. So this is the rubber, this is the original. So that's going to slide into there. In fact, I could slide it in now. Let it in. Okay, it's not going to slide in so easily. No, it's coming out at the bottom. Okay, I'll do that when I've got a little more time. But you get the idea. So that rubber is going to be at the top. So that's sort of weather seal. Pushes against the side of the window frame. You'll see it when it's in position. At the top edge, interestingly, this channel has been capped. It must have been silver soldered in, I guess. If it was brass. Anyway, fixed somehow. Yeah. So these are going to rivet inside this. Which way around is it? That way around. If I've got the right side. So you get the idea. It's going to rivet inside there so that the window runs up and down in this. There were some little spaces which sat in this side, which made it level with here. So I guess when you rivet it, it's not bending this part. So the spaces just filled that gap. Okay. One thing to note, if I hold these two channels together, so I'm holding them together at the bottom, by the time you get to the top, there's a gap. So, are they different lengths as well? You just line them up. They might even be slightly different lengths. So, they are not straight. And I think what's happened there is either they were made this shape on purpose, or they started off straight and then they were bent to fit against the front windscreen frame. Wouldn't surprise me. So they bend inwards. So this, well, you can see I've got the outer faces together there. So this is going to be on the right hand side of the car as you drive in the car, this one, this is the left. I've got these parts assembled now, so very good friend Brian, expert riveter, has riveted these together. So this is the one with the channel in for the window, so you can see the rivets down there at the bottom of that channel, and also now got this lock, window lock mechanism, and the little spring also all riveted in place. So you can see how that protrudes through the channel, so when the window's up it's going to stop it from coming down. And so that's the rear one, and the front piece, these are both for the passenger door, is riveted together. You can see how that's offset, so there's a, maybe you can see, so there's a gap for the door card to slot into there. Same on this one as well, there's a gap here that is it clear? That the door card slots into. No rubber in this yet. You can see the rivets. It's riveted together, and this rubber piece now has been fed in and it's now trapped, because this is now riveted in place. So you have to slide that on before you rivet it on. This is the original rubber piece. I decided to reuse it because it was in reasonable condition, and I've got some new new rubber, so furry rubber that's going to slide inside. So hopefully you can see that section. Let me just focus close. So it's it sort of spreads out when it's made, and it's going to squash in. You can see these little bits that are going to push against the window. So that slides into this brass channel. As so. So I'll get that fed in, chop it off to length. Just a quick update, actually it's much easier just to push it in like this than to try and feed it all the way up, so it's very flexible and it just squashes in. Just putting the hinges into the doors. This is one of the hinges. I've got a new nylon piece in here, and there's two screws, well, one of them's a screw, one's a bolt, that go into this, and you can see from the castings different thickness. So this one's 1.5 inches long, this one's 1.25 inches long, and they've got these very chunky washers on. Some of the washers have got a section cut off, and I believe that must be at the front to clear this adjusting nut. And they've got very, very big holes in, so there's plenty of movement. So once this is in place, you can move this hinge, shall we call it a pin? Hemisphere, around a lot. So let's get rid of them. And this half sphere, hemisphere, can be adjusted up and down by putting in a square socket, square drive into the back of it, so I can just adjust that up and down by screwing it either way. And then this is a locking device, so once that's in the right place, you screw that up onto the back of that, and it's just acting like a lock nut. So let's get it in. That's fixed in. You can just get in with a small socket drive and goes completely into the front one, and get the back one through there. Yeah, so I've nipped it up tight and then I've just backed them off a bit so this can still move around. So when I put it on the car I can hopefully move the door around easily enough before I nip them up. This is the top of the door, and this is the top door hinge. Just to show, you can see this one, it's got a square in the back of the nylon. This is the original one which I've left in the top. It's got the original bobbins in the door, and it's the right size for I think that's 1/4 inch drive, so you can adjust that when you're from inside the door with a 1/4 inch drive, and then obviously lock it with this lock nut. I've cleaned out these bobbins and just had a quick read up. I think the idea is to not put any lubricant in them. There's certainly a drain hole in the bottom of that one. If it got lubricant, it might stop water. You might end up with like a grinding paste in there. So I'll assemble them dry, see what it feels like. So the bottom one was fixed in place and the top one I'd left loose. So the bottom one has gone in. I've got it set up now. So both bobbins are in place, and I've adjusted the bobbins so there's no up-down movement, so they're just nicely in. I haven't tightened them too much. There's no lubrication on them, so that's what it feels like, and I'm happy with the adjustment. I think it's as good as it's going to get. Hopefully it won't droop too much as I build up the door and put all the weight of the locking mechanism and things in place, so we'll see. No rubber seals in this yet, because I was more concerned about getting the shut lines right, and then I'll stick it on the seals and hopefully they'll fit, but I'll make seals work. I haven't modified the door in any way, so all these positions of all these flanges and things should be as they were from new. So I hope all the door seals work. But as I say, I will make them work anyway. So very happy to have a door on. Yay! I'll just show the shut lines. I just can't really get very far back from the car in the garage, but hopefully this will give you some idea of the shut lines. So pretty happy. And one thing I really love about the early body shape is this, the door line, and then this bulges out, not significantly, but I think it's very pretty. Difficult to see in this light anyway. If I open the door you can see how this works. It's a very elegant door, I think. A bit biased of course, so yeah, really chuffed. And what it looks like on the inside, I've still got this protected with tape just so I didn't break anything, scratch any paint. This all gets covered over with trim, but that one stays open, so the fact that it's so dark you can't really see much in there, but that's where the two bolts are. And the little that's the little press thing for the interior light, so that does seem to be being pressed in. Yeah, I could hear it. Great. Just pop this little 10x fastener in the front of the door. There's a little recess behind. That's where it fixes. I think it's for fixing a tonneau cover.